Welcome to Bite Size Rando. My name is DDR Kirby. Today, we're going to be talking about the fastest way to get from the back of Skullwoods here to the Village of Outcasts and Thievestown area over here. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that you are not interested in in going through the front of Skullwoods to clean up any remaining checks that may or may not be here. You're just interested in going straight from here to here without anything in between. Now, this could be because you've already cleared out the front of Skullwoods in a separate trip. It could be because you kind of did Skullwoods from front to back and you've already done all this. Could also be because you're in go mode and you're not interested in these checks, or maybe you're just planning on doing them at a later time. But whatever the reason is, you're just interested in getting straight from here to here in the fastest amount of time possible. Now, of course, the simplest and most straightforward way to do that is to just go back inside this skull entrance and then continue walking past the front of Skullwoods, and then you can scoot by this little pit here, and then if you go south 2 screens, you will end up at the Village of Outcasts area, and this is a very common way to do this traversal. But depending on your equipment, you might have some other options available to you. So if you have the magic mirror, then you can use that over here, and that will take you to the Lost Woods area in the Light World. And then if you keep on going south, you'll eventually end up at this screen. And then you can use the hammer to hammer this peg down, and then you can step into this portal here, which will return you to the Dark World. Now, if you also have the Titan's Mitts, you can use that to lift this rock here and then proceed south to the Village of Outcasts. Or, if you do not have the Titan's Mitts, then unfortunately you're going to have to go through these bushes, which is going to take a little bit longer. Now, there is one other option that you may have, and that is if you have the mirror and the flute, you can use both of those in conjunction. So you can flute from here from the Lost Woods area and flute to flute spot number 3, and that'll take you here. And then if you go north from here, you'll end up at this same screen, only coming from below. And of course, if you have the Titan's Mitts here, you'll be able to pick up this boulder and then step into this portal again. And then of course, you are gonna already have the Titan's Mitts in this case and be able to step south to Village of Outcasts. So which one of these traversal routes do you think is going to be the fastest way? Let's look at the video comparisons and find out. Alright, so we're going to start off by comparing when you do not have the Pegasus boots. I'm going to speed up these videos just a little bit because they are quite long. So on the top left here, we're going to be walking back the way we came through Skullwoods. On the top right, we're going to be using the flute after we mirror, and then using the mitts to lift this boulder. And on the bottom 2 videos, we're going to be using the hammer to get through those pegs, and then the only difference here is whether we also have access to the mitts to lift this boulder here. Now, in all 4 of these videos, I am also going to be entering the chess game as well as the C-shaped house, because generally you want to do all 3 of these checks, C-shaped house, chess game, and Thievestown. And because you'll come into Village of Outcasts from a different spot depending on your route, I just thought it would be a more even comparison if I made sure that you entered all 3 of those, which is going to be a different order depending on which way you entered. So, as you can see from the timings here, the flute method is going to be the fastest by a couple seconds. So if you have the flute and the mitts and the mirror, you'll definitely want to do that. Otherwise, the mirror and hammer methods are going to also be faster. So walking back through Skullwoods is going to be the slowest option. So if you have access to the flute and the mirror and the mitts, then you obviously want to do this one. If you have the hammer, then you'll want to do either one of these 2, depending on whether you also have the mitts. And walking back through Skullwoods is going to kind of be the last resort. Okay, now we're going to compare the same 4 routes, only with the aid of boots this time. Now, a couple notes that I did want to add. If you're going to mirror and use a flute, I would recommend just not moving from the entrance of Skullwoods. You get a guaranteed quick warp that way, so that is going to be the fastest. And if you're warping to use the Kakariko portal by coming down here and using the hammer pegs, I found that using these lining yourself up flush against these little corner nooks will also guarantee you a quick warp. So you can take advantage of that to make sure that you get a quick warp and save a few frames there. As with before, I'm going to speed these videos up just a little bit since they are a little bit long, but obviously with the boots, you are going to be able to travel a little bit faster, so the timings are all going to be reduced by a little bit. And as before, we're going to visit chess game first in this case, but in this case it makes more sense to visit C-shaped house since you're coming from the right-hand side Village of Outcasts entrance. And so I'll make sure to visit all 3 of these locations and end up at Thievestown at the end. and you'll see that this time the results are pretty similar, except that, so walking through Skullwoods is still definitely the slowest one, so you're going to have to do that as a last resort. But this time, using the flute and the mitts is about even with using the hammer and not using the flute. So kind of these two are about even, and I would say it's kind of just down to personal preference which one of these you pick, if you have access to the mitts and the hammer and the flute. Otherwise, just do whatever you can, and obviously if you don't have access to the mitts but you still have the mirror and hammer, then you're going to go this way. Now, at the beginning of this video, I did mention we're going to assume that you're not interested at all in stopping by the front of Skullwoods on the way to Village of Vadkes and Thieves Town. You might be wondering whether any of these alternative traversal methods utilizing the mirror will help you get from the back of Skullwoods to the front of Skullwoods faster than it would be if you just walk through the middle of the dungeon. And from my testing, I have concluded that the answer is a definite no. So if you're interested in going to the front of Skullwoods after the back, then definitely the fastest way is just going to be to go down here and then go through the middle of the dungeon. Just go back the way that you came. It's not going to be faster to use any of the mirror traversal routes that we showed off in the comparison videos. So that is all the timing data that I have for this routing. Hopefully this helps you in your next run, and good luck!